Welcome to episode 7 of the MLF1 podcast. We're here at the Semabox at the Baraza Media Lab with my special guest today is Jose Kyalo. Welcome.
Good morning, Limo.
A man I really respect, one man who is an encyclopedia of F1 knowledge. Somebody I can say knows much more than me about F1. Jose, where did your interest in F1 start?
My interest in Formula One started in the 2000s. During the early 2000s, during the Michael Schumacher era. Back then we didn't have a lot of access to DSTV, so we relied on news, and all news you could get are highlights from international media. All you could get was who's winning, just a bit of highlights in the race and here and there. So that's how the interest started. But then as growing older, I started to watch a bit as Michael was retiring and new drivers coming in. I would say I was lucky not to have fallen into the Hamilton bandwagon.
Yes.
Back then, came in as the first black driver in Formula One, still is. But I still maintain my roots in Formula One away from Hamilton.
Okay.
Yes.
I got to know you when I used to see you hosting events at Choices and kind of a partnership thing, the Sunday morning events. And is that something you still do?
Unfortunately, or fortunately, no. I think also the market has outgrown what we used to do back then. I see other people have picked up doing events, which makes me proud because this is what was our target when we were aiming at. When I joined the Choices group, I think there were about 10 guys who used to come every other Sunday. So it was just a group of friends.
Yes.
Say you pick up a friend, come. So on one Sunday, you decide you're the one doing boozy or the barbecue, and we had Asian members who do koroga for us. So you donate so that it just becomes as a normal Sunday out, Sunday afternoon. People come, sit down, watch Formula One, and Choices used to guarantee us sound.
Yes.
Back then, there was a big rivalry between Arsenal and Man U and Chelsea, and Premier League could take priority over any other sport anywhere you go. Formula One, most of the races are in the afternoon.
Yes.
And most football is Sunday. The big matches are normally in the afternoon. So getting a place whereby you're going to sit and watch and get sound was very difficult.
Uninterrupted, no DJ
Yes.
music, no...
Yeah, no DJ music, uninterrupted. You have a space, dedicated TVs, so that you can be able to watch. And the other sports that go on also around that time that would also take precedence over Formula One, because back then around, I think I would say when the group became a bit organized, was about 2010-11. We had now a consistent group of members used to come. The other guys who were there who came earlier, and they used to sit, but then it was not a bit more organized. But I guess around 2010, I think 2010 was a championship that was contested to the end. I think one after 2007, but the 2010 one was very heated because we had 4 drivers who were going for it. So and I guess around that time we got momentum and people starting to come to watch Formula One, and then we're growing just as a small group. But then this was the older crowd.
Yes.
I would say the older generation, whereby you were looking for a safe space, quiet place to enjoy your race, have a chat with your friends, and start the week again. Come back the next Sunday the same way. Also, you find some of the races, I think we had, I think Russia, the first time Russia was running was also very early morning. And I think Singapore also comes very early our time.
Yes.
Those races now would force you, because you want to go and watch as a group, who's going to open up a place for you to sit down and watch the race and then relax after that. Australia, the same thing, early morning race. Most of the time, I think the race was at 8 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember you used to come also in those early morning races. So that's how we started out as a group. Before we got more members, we became active online with the other members we had, and then we started getting sponsorship and all that to grow the group to a bigger group.
Amazing organization, because this is even before there was Twitter, even before there was really WhatsApp.
Yes.
And then that guys could find each other, come together and have a nice viewing.
I think generally it's more of tagging along with your friend. So, and if you have an interest in something and you can bring a friend along, the initial setup we had was not a numbers thing. It was just a group of like-minded people who just sit to watch a race on a weekend. So we are not going for having a larger group. We are not trying to put out the word there that we're watching Formula One or this and this. So it's just that I know if I want to watch Formula One on Sunday, I'll go to Choices and we sit down, we find people there who are watching Formula One and we pick up from there.
Also got to hang with you when we went to Kwese TV to South Africa
Yes.
to do an in-studio recording.
Yeah.
And I mean, those tapes seem to have disappeared when Kwese folded up in 2018.
Yeah, it was quite unfortunate. I think the owner was fighting with a bigger giant, Supersport, and also the fact that they couldn't accept sponsorship from alcohol betting and all these other brands that the owner was not comfortable with. That led to them folding, because you're looking at Supersport. They're picking up adverts from this, and that's how you generate a lot of revenue. If you look at any other sport, I don't think there's any football team now that doesn't have a betting company that is sponsoring them, because they've realized this is where new money is being generated from. And he was not getting money from it, and that's how it ended up folding. It was a good gig we had. We're doing very well. The travel was a bit too tiring. Every other weekend going there. At first, it becomes fun because you think you're going to do something you love and ABCD, but after 1 month, you're doing 3 trips in a month, or the next month you're out, the next week. I think the flights are usually where the problem is, waiting for 3 hours, airport check-in, 4 hours flight, back again, Monday, like that. Yeah. It was actually my first proper TV gig that I was doing, because the others I was doing were just you appear on TVA, talk about sport for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, appear on the next one, ABCD. The other one that was proper was just radio, but the TV experience was very different than radio.
Speaking about travel, I think that's the most interesting thing we can do today.
Yeah.
2019 September, our mutual friend Archer Yuri, he wrote about Jose does his annual F1 tour to Belgium and Italy, and Charles Leclerc wins them both. Hini top grade Kamuti ya Ukambani. Now that trip, by that time, how many races had you been to?
2019, Belgium was before Monza, right?
Yes.
So Belgium was race number 6. Monza was race number 7, because this year I went to the Spanish Grand Prix, which was number 8. So I've done 8 races so far.
What was the first race you went to?
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Yes, in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi becomes easier for anyone who's starting to go to Formula One. It's easier to get the visa. It's close by. And there's more than just Formula One when you go to Abu Dhabi. So the experience was good. I got good seats. I think the first thing that I wanted to see was the pit lane. Interested in to see how the teams prepare, how they work over the weekend, how the pit stops are done. So you're not so close to the race as anyone would imagine before you go to a race. But the experience and the view is amazing. So I had a seat on the main grandstand for the first race. So for the other races I went for, I chose a different grandstand, because on the straight line, there's not so much to see.
Yes.
Because the cars pass very fast. You only see when they're coming in for pits, when they're preparing, or the weekend. Over the weekend, you'll get to see more action on the pits than what is on track. But you're not going to see any overtake. But I think the coolest thing that I saw on my first race was the cooling of brakes, and how the brake discs light up. They glow at the corner on turn 1 when they're making the left. That was the best thing I could see, because you just see car brakes and you're thinking this disc is glowing and it's about to catch fire, but then it's not, and then cools down in seconds. The guy makes a corner and he's gone. So you won't see much overtake, but you will get to experience, a good weekend overall.
And actually some races where, especially Hamilton, will pull up to the grid to start and his brakes on fire. And you wonder, hey man, is he going to even make the first corner?
Yeah, the famous one was last year in Baku, where he cooked up his brakes and he didn't have any grip at the end of the corner when he was trying to fight Perez.
Yes.
Yeah. The brakes, I think, work up to, 1,600 degrees temperature. That's the operating window for the optimum braking power. So if you miss that or getting them into that window, that's why you see they brake and stop. Accelerate and stop, was they're doing their warm-up lap to get the proper temperature in. Because if you find some of the tracks, I think like Spain, it's a long run down to turn one.
Yes.
So when you're going straight, your brakes cool more. So you might not have the proper temperature as you're going to make the corner, and you might lock up or you might just go through the corner into the gravel.
Are drivers told that your brakes are too cold or they are too hot? Do they know, like say at Spain, going into the first corner?
I think they can feel with the amount of grip you have. I think even when you're driving your car, you can always tell when your brakes are not perfect. So for them, the grip is at most, I think, between 1,400 and 1,600. When they're too cold, they will not work. When they're too hot, again, you'll start seeing the smoke, as you're saying, the smoke coming out. And also they have sensors on the car that you can tell which brake is hot, whether the front right, the rear left, or something like that. And it's very noticeable when you're rolling the car either into a fast corner, into a very slow corner, or you're braking into a chicane. If you're too hot, then you know you don't have the grip to make the corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to your Jose's European tour, I mean, that was very interesting. First of all, do you have a regular crew you travel with? And then going to Europe and to do 2 races, what was the planning process?
Yeah.
Do you tell the embassy I'm going for F1?
Yeah.
How did you plan your ground logistics? I don't know if you used Airbnb or
the bookings.
airline route you used.
So being one Ferrari member, I am attached to Italy. So I always feel like Italy is my second home, and traveling to Italy always gets me excited. So the planning, one, you'd ask whether I have a crew. No, I don't have a crew that I travel with. Being that we are human beings, sometimes you'd start planning a trip when you're 6 or when you're 5, and then at the end of the day, you end up going 1 or 2 people.
And for
various reasons,
many things.
For various reasons, you might not find the whole group going. So sometimes, because I'm very sure of what I want to do, I start planning when I'm alone. If anyone would want to tag along, then I'll tell you this is my plan and I'm doing a BCD. So one is always start planning early. For example, that trip was in early September, the first weekend and the second weekend of September. They're back-to-back races. So the best way to do 2 races in Europe is to look at the calendar and see whether you have back-to-back races. I think back then we used to have 17, 18 races. Now we have about 23, 24 races in a year. That's why we have a triple header like this last 2 weeks. Yeah, we've had Spa, Dutch, and then now we're going to Italy this weekend. So when you get now the 2 races that you're going for, I'd say give it about a period of 6 months. One, the tickets will have an offer for you to buy the tickets. The race ticket, you'll have an offer because early bird. Then 2, the airlines are also a bit cheaper when you buy them earlier. Hotels, you book early and confirm. So I don't use Airbnb because the amenities or services you get from hotels that you cannot get from Airbnb.
Yes.
So I always avoid, and I'm having now to plan like a long trip, because that trip I think was 3.5 weeks in total. So doing 3.5 weeks and staying in a home is very difficult because there's a lot of things now you start doing for yourself.
Yes.
Which you avoid. One, you book a Schengen visa so that you can get to travel across the countries, because that would apply for Belgium, where Spa is, and for Italy, for Monza. So those are two countries.
Did you go to you went through the Italian embassy or the?
No, there's a VFS Global. They do visas for the region. So you go through them, you get a form, you book an appointment. I think nowadays you book an appointment. Once you get your appointment, you download the form online, fill in all the details, and a lot of people, I found like this year when I was traveling, there were quite a number of people who are going to Spain. And they were trying to go and their visas got rejected. I'm not sure one of the reasons, but I think I had like 3-4 people. And others, I think they were going for a different event just a few weeks back. They also got their visas rejected. The thing is, they're very keen on the documents you fill in, and the information you give in those forms has to be accurate. Bank statements have to be stamped. You have to get your bookings right and show the dates on your airline and the dates on your hotel booking have to match. So you can't say you're traveling on the 10th, but then your hotel checkout is on the 9th. So it has to be the same day so that you leave on the same day. Then also you have to be very keen on the dates that you want to apply for. If you want to get a multiple entry, you get a multiple entry and you have to show the reasons why you need. So if you have 2 trips, say one trip in September now, and you have another trip in November. So you'll have to show the bookings for both.
Okay.
If you miss one, then your visa might be rejected or they might give you just for one entry. So then again, that means you'll have to go back and pay, I think it's 14K, and then really apply for another visa. And it's very pricey. So, and the whole process again, and if you have bank statements, which you have like maybe 60 pages or 50 pages, going back again to the bank to get them stamped, printing again. It's a lot of work just to go through the process of applying for a visa. So it's best to get the first one and apply for others that you want to do if you're going to have another travel within 6 months. If you travel more than once, they start giving you an extension. So because of the numerous trips I've done, I think nowadays, the last 2 I've applied, I'm getting 1 year with a multiple entry. So now it makes it easier. If you travel in May, you have option to travel to the next year, May, for the races. Now, when you want to enjoy the whole weekend, the first thing you do is you have to start on a Wednesday. Wednesday should be your first day of arrival so that you have Thursday to go do the pit lane walk, because all tracks are different. You want to get the full experience. So you do track walk on Thursday, the pit lane walk. Then Friday, you do practice 1, practice 2. Saturday, you come for qualifying. If there's a city around where you're going, you can walk around because sessions are normally in the afternoon. Plus, depending on the track you go to, some have the women's series, Formula 2, Formula 3, and the Porsche Cup on the same weekend, plus Formula 1. So you find the whole day will be occupied. And it's not easy to sit on track the whole day. So there are activities around the track that you do, BCD. If you go to a city that has maybe a Formula 1 museum or a car museum that is nearby, those are things you can combine within the same weekend and do. Then by Sunday night, you finish with Formula 1. You can give yourself a day in the city, travel, do 1, 2, 3 things. Travel between the 2 countries by air is about 1 hour. And the rates are very cheap in Europe. So crossing over will be about maybe €100 or less, depending on the luggage or the time you book. Same thing you do on the next track, Wednesday to Sunday. And then now you see if you needed to do anything else around, and then you can come back.
For guys who have become used to F1 and are used to, they've done Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
What European race would you advise them to go for?
If you save up very well, I would say Spa.
Spa in Belgium.
Spa in Belgium is very beautiful. It's a long track. So the walking is a lot. When I went for it, the corner where I was dropped off the first day was at Likum, turn 5, at the end of the long straight. And I was sitting at the bus stop chicane, which is turn 18. The crossing over from 18 down, from 5 down to turn 18, I think is about 3 kms.
Wow.
And there are places you cut corners under the track and you go through because it's a forest. You go through the forest and you come back, but the view is amazing. So the best thing is when you get in the morning at 10 a.m. before, say, Formula 1 is at 12. So those kilometers as you're walking down, you can stop because Formula 2 is going on or Formula 3 is going on. You can watch as you go because they have a lot of free sitting around the track because the grandstands are not that many. As if you watch, you notice even the banking on the Camel Straight, it's usually more or less free seating.
Okay.
So you can always stop there, watch for 5 minutes, see how the cars are passing as you make your way down to the pit, to the pit area or turn 18 or the fan zone, and then you make your way to the seat. The only challenge I have that I saw with Belgium is accommodation. One, it's in the mountain, so closest accommodation is tented. And if you're booking late, it's quite pricey. So you find even up to 200 euros for accommodation. The cities around, or rather the towns around, Stavelo is too small to host even the Formula One teams and everyone. There's a town, I'm forgetting the name, which is across the road, about 20-minute drive. You can find accommodation, but again, it's not that easy.
Okay.
So you have to try and get it very early.
Ties into a question I have in terms of you're looking for a city with accommodation or a town with accommodation, and easy access to the track, and then also airport. So what would you advise in terms of airline and city to stay?
The easiest now I think for the ones I've done, Monza would be the best. Monza would be the best to access. It's easy. One, you can stay in Milan. You don't have to stay in Monza. From Milan to Monza is about 40 minutes. There are, I think, 3-4 ways you can get there. You can get to the track. If you're staying in Monza, you can go by the regional trains, or you can go by metro to, I think, one of the towns at the end of metro. I think it's called Sesto Maggio, which is the last end. From there, you take a bus, which is 10 minutes to the track. And if you get close to the park, because Monza is a park, there are normally courtesy buses by F1 that drop people off, now almost closer to the gate. And they charge, I think, 2 euros per trip. So you find movement is easy. Accommodation in Milan is expensive, so you will never miss accommodation.
Okay.
You find Airbnbs, you find hotels. Even at the farthest point, transport is easy in that city to move, and closer to the track and back to the city. So that's usually one of the things that is there. I don't know whether you saw the news after the Spanish Grand Prix this year. There was a lot of issues because of transport.
Logistics challenges.
Yes. Yeah, because they didn't expect that number of guys. So you find the train station is one. And yes, they've dedicated the trains to pick people and drop them back to the city. But then the frequency and the number of guys there. If I show you some of the photos at the station, you'd wonder where all these people are going. So you have to move all these people back to the city of Barcelona, and the people who are staying close by onto other smaller towns. But the route out is one. So that was a big challenge for them. And the cabs are not cheap. I think from Catalonia to the city I think it was about 70 euros one way. And cabs there charge per person, not per ride.
Okay.
So if you're 7 of you, you get one big cab. It's each one person paying 70. So it doesn't save you on anything if you take a cab that is one person or the one that has 3 people.
After Spain, what's your next target to attend? Maybe in a year or 2? Or
I want to do Asia. I've never been to any Asian country. So I was hoping Malaysia would make its way back into Formula One. I wanted to do a race in Germany. It doesn't seem likely with the way they have financial problems, either Hockenheim or the... So I would start with Singapore, because I see Singapore is back on track.
yes.
So, and also to experience a night race. I would want to try Saudi Arabia and see that's close by. Not so much Qatar. I'm not sure why I don't feel the Qatar track. I feel it's more of a MotoGP track than than a Formula One track.
But the track last year, from what I read, was just to introduce the sports to Qatar, and they will have a city track in future, not Lusail where they were last year.
I had the news, but that would be interesting. But we're going to have too many street races.
Street races, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Miami is also on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, but now the cost of tickets. I saw someone the other day tweet that they're offering the people who had tickets last year, and I think a grandstand seat was about $800. So, but the price has gone up. about 300, 350, others 400. Other seats have gone double because I think the attendance was 100%.
Yes.
But the organizers said they made a loss.
Well,
despite all that, because they say they went over and above to ensure the fans had the best accommodation, they got the best fan zone and everything. It looks a good race for the atmosphere. Monaco as well for the atmosphere, not for the racing. It's a traditional track, Formula One. It looks fun to be there. Not just, I mean, to enjoy the racing, it's usually a wedding procession, but you will enjoy the environment and the facilities, so it's fine.
Now we're entering the last third of the season. As you mentioned, Singapore will be there. But ever since the break, you've had Red Bull continue their streak. Max won 4 of the last 5 and the last 2 races. What's your outlook for the rest of the season? Or maybe Italy first, the Italian race.
The Italian race. I think it's still going to be the same. The top speed for Red Bull is unmatched. I think their peak, their high gears and what they can achieve at the end of the straights is unmatched. You saw how Verstappen was able to pick out Hamilton in the Dutch Grand Prix. Just straight out of the corner, he was able to pick him up very fast. So I saw someone say that Hamilton was a wrong engine mode, but regardless, their top speed is very fast. I think a team that's going to might do better. Alpine also seem to have a top end speed. So Monza being the cathedral of speed, we're going to see Red Bull dominate. Ferrari will be there, but I don't think they'll have the race pace to quite. They seem not to be getting something with the new upgrades they're getting. They seem to have lost the edge that they were able to compete with Red Bull at the start.
So if we assume Max will be world champion at some point in the next few races, how do you see the other races shaping up? You have Red Bull, Ferrari 30 ahead of Mercedes. Do you think Mercedes will catch up?
If Ferrari continue,
McLaren,
if Ferrari continue with what they're doing, I think by the next 3-4 races, Mercedes will catch up with them on the Constructors' Championship.
That's terrible.
Yes, it's terrible. Seeing that where they started off the season in Bahrain and what they were doing earlier in the year, they seem not to have, 1, the car together, 2, their strategy and the team. Coming into the pit, tires not ready, which is acceptable once in a while to make a mistake. But it can't be every other weekend you're making more or less the same mistakes. Carlos seems to be getting the worst of the pit stop errors. Long pit stop, wrong tires, mechanics look confused. I think they need to first get a hold of that for them to ensure that they're going to cement number 2, because it would be embarrassing for them to come number 3 in constructors this season after looking like title challengers at the start of the season.
So you've tied with Perez on points. Russell is now, I think, 13 ahead of Sainz.
Yeah, and 13, I think, closer to.
Yeah. In the rest of the season, how about in terms of the driver seats? I think we saw Piastri sort out his issues with McLaren, but you have 5 seats for next year, I think, which are open officially. Do you think you'll get an American in the sport? And how do you see that playing out in the next few weeks?
I'm not sure why Toto does not want an American in the sport, because he seemed to be very against, what's his name? The Andretti's.
Colton.
Yeah, no, the Andretti's first. They want to join Formula One, yes. And then the problem with Colton Herta is the time he has to get the super license. So, and I've seen Helmut Marko comment and say that if he doesn't have a super license, then they can't release Pierre Gasly, because there are rumors that Alpine want the French driver to drive for them.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I think it would be good for Pierre to move, seeing that he's not going to go back to Red Bull with the current setup, unless somehow Checo retires or they do away with his contract. But he's doing a good job. I don't think he'll get a proper challenge to fight at the front. But also without Alpine being a mid-table team, I think maybe for him would just be an experience and just to drive for the team that comes from your home country. So that would be the move that I would see. For Ricciardo, I don't think there is a favorable seat that would improve his current status. I think he would end up just either taking a lower team or taking a step back and trying to come back. But we know in Formula One, when you try take a year out and come back, it's very difficult because look at Nico Hülkenberg.
Yes.
Never got a seat back. He only got a role to do as reserve driver and a test driver. Same thing with Van Dorn. Used to drive for McLaren. Yeah, so it's very difficult. I think the only person who's made a comeback is Magnussen.
And that was quite unexpected because of the Russia-Ukraine.
Yes. So that one was unexpected, but I think he's the only driver I can remember in the last few seasons who's been able to stay out and come back.
Okay. So podium predictions for Monza?
Verstappen, Leclerc, and Sainz.
Okay.
Yeah, I would put it that way. The reason I'm opening up Perez there, even with the fast car, is because Red Bull use him as a test. So to figure out what strategy will work, they use him to keep options open for Verstappen. And he will have, probably if they decide to go for the hard compound for the weekend, he'll be given do 2 laps, and then that would put him a bit back by the time he recovers. Also, Perez is not a good qualifier on Saturday, but he tends to drive better on Sunday. And if he doesn't sort out the qualifying, I don't see him getting very many podiums towards the end of the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jose. It's been a pleasure hosting you. We find you at Jose on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes.
You post pictures of your stories and...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
This is MLF1 podcast at Semabox, the Baraza Media Lab. Been hosted by Doris this morning. And I'm Limo Taboi. And thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the race on Sunday.